All right, if you look up on the screen here, this is where we are today. So we went over Chapter 5, we went over Chapter 6. You did the written hands-on, or written test rather, for Chapter 4. All right. One thing I was not aware of, so if I told you to do this, I'm apologizing in advance, but I want to make sure you see this, and that is, if I go over, this is my ranking page when I set up assignments and stuff for you. You do not have to do for Chapter 4 the exercise at the end of the chapter, like you did in the last one. What do they call that? Hands-on exercises or something like that. This right here, these are the practices that you do throughout the chapter. Make sense? 4.1 through 4.15 or whatever it is. These are not due until next Wednesday. All right, notice 9/7. If you've turned them in already, and I'll give you till Monday. In fact, they're due 9/7. But if you turn them in already and you look at them over the weekend, geez, I didn't do that one correctly or whatever, then just turn them in again. You see what I'm saying? All right, 2 or 3 of you have turned them in already, and the other 7 or 8 of you have not, and that's okay because they're not due until then. All right, but when you look, what I just handed out to you were these 3 things. All right, and it says here, HTML text, Chapter 6 positioning, or CSS positioning exercise 1, CSS positioning exercise 2, CSS positioning exercise 3. You'll notice they're due a week from today. All right, so that should give you time. So in other words, if you say, well, that's good because I don't want to work on this stuff during the break, then don't. Okay. Also, 1 week from today, that's when you will take the Chapter 6 written test. So remember what we've got going on here next week. All right? So next week in class, the 6th, what we'll do for about the first hour, hour and a half max, is we'll do that Path of Light for Chapter 6. All right? We'll do that one. And it'll take no more than till 10:30 with a break. Okay? And as always, if you do struggle with it, if you have any kind of problems, I'll give you my copy of it when we get done. So if it makes it easier for you to just sit and watch, or you get too frustrated, then do that. You're not hurting my feelings any. So the rest of the period will be lab. You'll notice all Wednesday of next week, the entire period, all lab. Thursday, the only thing that's not shown in here, because I asked you if you wanted it and you said yes, is the last 30 to 40 minutes will be the test review for Chapter 6. The rest of the period, all lab. So you will have approximately 2 hours on Tuesday, approximately 4 hours on Wednesday, and about 3.5 hours on Thursday. Make sense? So in other words, if you wanted to do this, you could say, okay, good. So just Tuesday, I'm going to work on this one. Just Wednesday, I'm going to work on this one. Just Thursday, I'm going to work on this one. If you wanted to do that, however, whatever works for you. But I want to talk about these assignments, and I want to do it and get done with talking about it within 10 minutes, because I want you to have an hour and a half today to work on whatever you want to, have to, or need to work on. All right, so does that make sense to everyone? Also, on the 9th, that notice what you're doing on that day. 2 things, kind of what we did the other day. You're having the written test for the first half hour to an hour. Then it's going to be a 2-part hands-on test. I've got to figure out a way to break this out because it's between a Friday and a Monday. I don't like that. That's just the way that it fell. All right. So let's look at these handouts that I just gave you. You've got 3 pages. Please make sure, no joke, that you look at all 3 pages. And the first page says at the top, in the middle, CSS Positioning 1. The second one says at the top in the middle, CSS Positioning Lab 2. And the third one says CSS Positioning Lab 3. I don't want somebody saying I only did 2 pages because there are only 2 in there. So please look. All right, so here's the first one. It says, using the internet resources shown, complete the following hands-on practice. So the first part, you literally go out to here, and it says barely fits designs. All right? And it's, notice how there is all tabs. The first 9 tabs have little things that you key in, and then the last one basically talks to you what it's about. It says, if you like what I did, buy me a beer. I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean. But what I want you to do, you can literally come in there and copy that in if you want to. What right there? See how I just highlighted it? You can do that. I want you to build little web pages that the first one will show this, the second one will show this, the third one, the fourth one. You get the idea? All right, so that's number one. I want to make sure people understand that. That's what you're asked to do in here. And as it says, build each example as a complete web page. So you'll call them index1.html all the way through index9.html. Each page, I want you to put that CSS in its own file. So it'll be styles1.css all the way through styles10.css. As it says, do the best you can to try to make each page look like that link. Does all that make sense? Because I don't want to take anything for granted here. All right. Then number 2 says, read this article. It's a really good article about floats, and it's from CSS Tricks. Not real long, but you may say, oh, it's long enough. Yeah, well, first of all, it's not. It ends here. So when you look along the sides, people see that and they go, oh, man, this is a really long article. Well, 2/3 of the article are comments that people made on the article. All right? So the article is in here, and it goes over, and there's a lot of examples. All right? So after you've read that, make an actual web page that tries to do this. So make a web page that looks like this. You see where I told you in class that if you go through the 2-column example, that might help you? Because that's what this is. All right? And if it helps you to use what's in the book as a guide, then use that. But I actually want it to look like a site. In other words, I don't care. Let's say Amin really likes basketball. Let's just say he does. And he puts up here, and let's just say his favorite team's the Miami Heat. It's all coming on the top of my head. So you've got here Miami Heat. You've got something here, whatever it happens to be, but you make a sidebar there. You make content here and footer here. Does that make sense? But I want it to be set up like that. If you want to start to create your own page, so let's say that you are going to create a website, you've got something you're really interested in, or it's going to be your electronic portfolio or whatever, you can do that. But I want it to resemble this. Does that make sense to everyone? All right, so that's the second part of this. The third part says to develop a website with a header, footer, etc., using this resource. And this is a little confusing. Again, Evan set these up. So it says here, notice it says I want 4 columns with a gap of 10, etc., etc. So if I change that number, and I'm saying that I want 6, and I want each one between them to have a gap of 3 pixels, see what it did? So using that, and it gives you the CSS here, and it shows you basically what you'd be doing. Again, develop a real website. And it's with 3 columns, so that you could use that in there. So I could just have gone back there and changed what I just did, wherever it was. It's probably here. Change it to 3. So you're going to develop something that looks more like that. Does that make sense? If you decide you want, let's say, well, if you ask, well, could I have those be maybe even a picture and some text and a picture? I don't care. It doesn't say what that content has to be made of. All right? So that's the first exercise. So if you turn the page, exercise 2. This one's harder. So I gave you a hint. It may help you. All right, again, using your books, the internet, previous labs, etc., set up these page layouts. So in other words, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 page layouts. I would recommend, if you want to do this, you don't have to, but what might be easier for you is, with all these here, the header and footer in all these are black. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. I recommend that you use some kind of a coloring scheme, whatever you want. This could be orange, this could be blue, this could be green, this could be brown, whatever. That might make it easier for you. And it says there, it should be a real site laid out with real text, images, etc. I mean, you could put garbage text in there. You can, but the idea, the reason that I put that stuff in there about making it a real site, these are things you can show to a potential employer. So if they say, Brady, do you have any examples here where you show different kinds of layouts? You could bring this up. So we had this one assignment where we had to create a home page, and then we had to create 5 different layouts, and I can show that to you. So that's what is behind this one. That's the whole assignment. If it helps you, because I try to look for something to help, so I found this that was on codementor.io, and it's an article where a person explains in here different ways of laying out pages on a site. All right, and he says, I did this, then I changed it to this, then I changed it to this, etc. And there's a bunch of examples in there, and they show you some CSS where he goes over how he floated it, etc. So I thought that might help. Does that make sense? All right. The third part, if you say, okay, parts 1, 2, and 3, which part will I like the most? The first one. Which part will I like the least? That'll be this next one, and it won't even be close. All right? All right. I don't know if I told you this or not. I'll try to keep this real short. I don't want to bore you. But I decided about March, I was leaving the school I was at. Even if I didn't have another job, I was leaving. It was literally eating me too much inside, the politics in there, where there were a lot of people there. If you would have given me a bat, I could have gone postal. And I didn't want to do that. It wasn't a good situation for me. That said, I didn't want to hose the people who were students there, who had already gone through the first year of the program, and also students who were going to be coming in. And I didn't know who they were going to hire or how good the person would not be. And I'm not saying I'm good at it, but I'm experienced. And I didn't know if they hired somebody and how experienced they'd be. Long story short, I came in during the first 6 weeks and made 150 videos for them. All right? Why am I telling you that? Because about 20 or 30 of the videos that I made, if not more, were on something that's called Bootstrap. And that's what this is. So I'm not going to really spend any time with you going over Bootstrap. I'm going to ask that you either look at those tapes, or I've given you other resources. Here's a really good Bootstrap tutorial series from a thing called Tutorial Public. Okay? And you go, well, that looks like a lot. Yes, it is. You don't have to go through any of it, but if you want to learn some more, that's a place you can go. You can also go to here, which is from Web Code Geeks, and this is new since I went through these, but it's called Bootstrap Tutorial, the Ultimate Guide. And you look at, well, that's not very big. No, see, come on. Okay, I don't want the books. Thank you. All right, and that's all the stuff that's in there. But it explains Bootstrap in a nutshell. It's not short. Probably going to be 20 or 30 pages long. I don't know. All right, so that's another reference you have. Then one of the other things that's in here is called how to use their templates. All right, and it goes through Bootstrap templates and how you use them. Why am I even telling you that? Because basically, if you pick out the right template, you don't have a lot of work to do on this assignment. The template will build most of this stuff for you. You just have to add the window dressing stuff that's in there, the stuff along the sides, to make sure you've got it covered. All right? And then finally, you say, okay, I sort of get that. I'm getting it a little bit more than I did. Well, on this Web Code Geeks, they even have a thing in here. It's a layout example where literally they show you, starting with nothing, they build this. It might not look like it, but this thing right here, this is a slideshow. So when you click it, it's going to bring up different slides. Then you build this. Then you build this where you put people's pictures in there. Then you build a real simple little form. And when you get done, All right, it says Bootstrap layout, because someplace in here, I'm just going to tell it to save it. All of the code is there, and I got to go back up one. Sorry. I just want to show you when you get done. Try to see if I can save it right there. All right, great. And extract it. I hope it comes right there. Good. This is what they have you build. Again, it doesn't look all that great. Takes a little bit to load. But this is the slideshow. And there's no code building that. Okay? Again, it's not that great. Services, pictures in there. One of my images didn't, or one of their images didn't come over. A very simple form. And even links. So what I'm telling you is, on that, if you say, okay, I read through that and it sort of makes sense, it sort of doesn't make sense, all right? Well, if that's the case, you can also, I went through that as a video. In fact, if you go out there, I went through their whole series that was there at the time. There's like 11 different things, and I went through that. So if you go through them,
now with lecture 8 of 11,
I build that whole thing that they built. So again, why did I do this? Because one of the classes that's being taught in spring or fall at Blackhawk is a Bootstrap class. And it's probably a good thing, because from what I heard, the person who's taken over for me doesn't know at all what Bootstrap is. They started the same day you did. So he's been teaching a class that he doesn't know what it is. So I think they've been using these tapes. So I've got a bunch of this stuff that I've put out there, and I'm going to ask that on your own. I want you to learn this, not to be an expert, just to learn it. And then, based off of that, do the best you can to build this. Does that make sense? This one may take you the most time, or if you look at Bootstrap and you find out something that looks similar to this, you might be able to finish it in an hour or two. Everybody's going to be different. Do you understand what the 3 assignments are? All right, so you've got an hour and a half approximately today. Again, no class Monday. Tuesday, we're going to spend the first hour to hour and a half. We're going to go through it kind of quick. So again, if I'm throwing you off by going too quick, then just listen, and I'll give you the copy of all the stuff. I don't have any problem at all doing that. Wednesday lab all day. Thursday lab, except for the last 30 to 40 minutes when we'll do the test review. Friday will be the regular written test for Chapter 6 and our next hands-on. That'll probably be the Chapter 4 part, and then we'll do the Chapter 6 part on Monday of the following week. Is everybody cool with that? Whether you realize it or not, too, even though there's 14 chapters in the book, page-wise, we're about halfway through the book already. All right, questions? So we're kind of slowing it up next week because you've got a lot of lab. All right, that's all that I had.